Listen, you can be crushing your goals, leading your teams, making millions even, and still feel lost, distracted, like something's off. If you're silently suffering behind your success, this is the wake-up call that you didn't know you needed. I've coached elite warriors, founding teams, and executives all at the top of their game. And this is the pattern that I see over and over again. Outward success, inner chaos. You wake up tired even though you slept. You snap at your team and then regret it. You meditate, but your mind races. You've got everything people say you should want, but peace still feels like a stranger. Trust me, I've been there. As a Navy SEAL, I lived in constant chaos. But what nearly broke me wasn't war, it was the war within. The pressure, the noise, the identity that I built that didn't match who I really was. That's until I made a shift that unlocked what I now call inner command. Today, I'm going to show you how to start building that same peace for yourself. Not after retirement, not after you sell your business, not on a retreat either, but right now, in the middle of your leadership day. Welcome to the Mark Divine Show. I'm your host, Mark Divine, and I'm excited to share these principles here about how to develop an unbeatable mind. Let's jump in. Now, step one, how do we build space between stimulus and response? So many people are just merged with their thoughts and emotions that as soon as the stimulus comes in, they're right off to the races, completely reacting, oftentimes with unconscious conditioning. You need to develop the capacity to separate yourself from your thoughts and emotions so that you can respond with power, purpose, and clarity instead of react unconsciously. You see, peace, that inner peace, doesn't come from controlling your outer world. It comes from mastering your reaction to it. I've taught box breathing now for over 20 years to Navy SEALs and elite executives. Box breathing is our secret weapon to develop complete control over your mind and emotions. Arousal control, attention control, concentration, and mindfulness, all in one powerful practice. So many people overlook the power of this practice. This is a foundational practice, the first thing that I teach to leaders who I work with. Simple practice. Through your nose, deep diaphragmatic breathing, you're going to inhale for a 4 count. You're going to hold your breath for a 4 count. You're going to exhale for a 4 count. And then you're going to hold your breath again for a 4 count. And you're going to do this ideally for 20 minutes in the morning and 20 minutes in the evening. That becomes your replacement for a meditation app or failing again at mindfulness. As you do this practice, it creates space between what happens and what you choose next. You develop a deep connection to your observing and witnessing capacity, which is distinct from thoughts and emotions. This is what gives you the capacity to pause, breathe, and choose an effective response instead of immediately react, often with negative consequences. And that space is where your power lies. Leaders who live in reaction are slaves to their circumstances and their subconscious programming or their childhood traumas. Leaders who learn to pause, breathe, think, and then act lead with greater peace. Develop a practice of box breathing every day, and I can guarantee you that one thing will transform your leadership and your life. Now, here's step 2. This one is also easier said than done, but it's so powerful and transformative. You got to stop leading from your ego and start leading from that witness that I mentioned. At SEAL Fit Training or Unbeatable Mind, I train you to shift from your egoic mind to your witnessing mind. The ego is the part of you that says, I'm not enough unless I win. The ego is the part of you that is always attracted and addicted to action, constant bias toward action. And we end up with very complicated lives. We're overcommitted. We're focused on the wrong things. And we keep leading ourselves into these traps. That's all ego. You're not enough unless you're doing something. You're not enough unless you're winning. You're not enough unless you're beating someone else. You're not enough unless you're putting points on the board. That's false. Now, the witnessing capacity that you have says, I'm already enough. I am worthy. I am whole. I don't need to win at someone else's expense. You lead from your heart and from your center, from the witness. This doesn't make you passive or a doormat. Actually, it's the opposite. It makes you incredibly powerful and purposeful. You act from grounded purpose with clarity about why you're doing what you're doing. And you completely turn a blind eye to any fear-based noise, any fear loops, any reactionary conditioning. You get that under control because you're able to see it clearly and you're able to turn away from it to more purposeful and powerful action. This needs to be trained. It's a big part of what I do in my programs. I've seen this one principle play out so positively for so many clients and also our coaches at Unbeatable. Like take Mel, for example. When I first started working with Mel, she was completely reactionary. She was in so many little drama loops, and she couldn't see the forest for the trees. After just 6 months of training her in box breathing and how to become non-reactionary and to connect to her witness, suddenly she realized that all that drama was self-created. It was a mind-generated fantasy, and she was able to disengage with it and to show up as positive and responsive. And after now several years of training, she has completely transformed her life, received a master's degree, written a book, and has launched a really powerful program around nutrition for kids. Now, that's an example of what I'm talking about when you act from grounded purpose and not fear-based noise. Here's step 3. You need to create a morning ritual that anchors you to your spirit and not just your goals. Most high performers wake up and immediately go into achievement mode. Oftentimes, they'll pick up their phone and check their emails, see what they missed. And they start feeding the fear wolf. Peace doesn't come to you from a to-do list or checking it off. Peace comes from alignment of the body, mind, and spirit, and your doing goals. My morning ritual and what I promote in Unbeatable Mind includes breath work, a gratitude journaling practice, visualization about your future self, the emergent, optimistic, abundant version of yourself, which is coming, intention setting, and a practice of just sitting in silence and stillness. Before I open my emails, I connect with my spirit. This practice is instrumental to help you win in your mind before you step foot on the battleground of your day. It creates positive momentum. It helps you open your heart and clear your mind so you're not conflicted, you're not distracted, and you have clarity of intention as you step foot into your workday. Step 4, you've got to identify the source of the noise in your life. Begin to declutter. Where are you being distracted? Where are you overcommitted? What triggers you negatively? What gets you stuck in a loop? What makes you burned out? You've got to identify that stuff. What are you avoiding? Who are you pretending to be? This stuff goes deep. This goes all the way back to childhood. Many leaders are addicted to the chase because they fear stillness. They trade connection with others, including their family, for performance because it's comfortable. They want to put more points on the board. And I can't tell you, I haven't met a single client who felt better after the bigger win because they haven't learned to be still. You can still have those wins, but you just can't be attached to them. And it's through stillness that you find that your true inner strength lies within, not in that accomplishment. That's where your true strength lies, in the stillness, in the calmness. You can't conquer the battlefield if you're losing the inside game. One of my favorite quotes is from a Indian guy named Punjab. And he says, sitting in stillness is the most important thing to do. Don't waste time not doing it. Step number 5, serve first and surrender always. Now, as a Navy SEAL, I never really liked that word surrender. But I'm not talking about surrender to an enemy. I'm talking about surrendering to who you really are. Letting go of the biases, letting go of the narrow perspectives, letting go of the belief that you're a limited human being because you're not. And we do this by serving others. Getting out of this idea that we are fighting for survival, that we've got to win against someone else's needs. True peace isn't about doing less, though. It's about leading from service and surrendering to your natural state, which is already awesome. You see, when I was a Navy SEAL, my most peaceful moments weren't when the mission ended. It was often in the middle of a mission when things were hard because I knew who I was. And I knew that I was awesome and that we were going to win regardless of how hard it seemed to be right now. I knew that if I showed up with full integrity, regardless of the outcome, that everything would go my way. That's peace of mind. When you give your all without griping about the results. This is the essence of non-attachment. We visualize the results. We drive for the results we want, but we know that no plan survives contact with reality. And so whatever the results are, we're okay with them. Service, surrender, and stillness. That's your formula to become unbeatable, to be an unbeatable leader. Let me ask you something. When was the last time that you felt stillness? When was the last time you felt truly in service and surrender? When was the last time you sat in silence without distraction or guilt that you weren't doing something? When was the last time you made a decision from your intuition and not from your rational mind, your ego, or from fear? I know you've mastered strategy and you've built systems and you've grown teams. But if you haven't mastered your own inner state, none of that's going to be fulfilling. You will live that life of quiet desperation that Thoreau talks about. It's time to end that. That ends now. Peace isn't something you earn after the grind. Peace is a practice, and it starts today. If this message resonates with you, subscribe now. This channel is where elite performance meets inner mastery. Each week, I share tactical breathing tools, mental models, and leadership frameworks that I've used to train Navy SEALs, Fortune 500 execs, and other high-impact entrepreneurs just like you. And if you're ready to go deeper, then join us in the next Unbeatable Leader Challenge. You don't have to sacrifice your soul for success. You can lead with both power and peace of mind. And I'll walk you every step of the way until you become an unbeatable leader yourself. Hoo-yah. Divine out.